This is a story about how two very cute foster kittens ended up becoming my children. They were called into my life and they chose me, of course. I strongly believe that cats and pets in general choose their owners. This is also a story about how I flipped a sunroom into a cat room. Meow! Very cat mom of me, I know. Alright, so this is the beautiful, gorgeous sunroom that came with our place. We had absolute no idea that this house came with a sunroom. We weren't even looking for one. We just happened to manifest this gorgeous room, and I'm so happy and grateful. I've always wanted to have a sunroom. I remember staying at an Airbnb once, and it had this really gorgeous one. It was such a vibe. At this time of my life when we moved here, I didn't have a baby yet. I have an infant now, and I also just didn't have a plan for this room. We already had 2 extra rooms, and so I figured this would be great for the cats. This was very peaceful to clean, honestly. It took a while because it has so many windows, and I'm pretty sure that this house was abandoned for a very long time, and it looked like they hadn't done anything with the sunroom. I also thought all of the natural light that would come in through all these big windows would be super amazing for the cats. We can open up those windows and they can hear the birds chirping, the nature sounds, and it would be peaceful for them as well. You know what I mean? Make sure to stay tuned till the very end of this video. Throughout the video, I will be sharing my honest thoughts on what I wouldn't do if I were to start a cat room all over again, because keep in mind, I'm sharing this video a little over a year from when I started it, from when I finished it. And I will share what I would absolutely do instead, or what I have done now and what I recommend for your cats, even if you don't have a whole room dedicated to them or a catio. I would say that overall I made a lot of mistakes with this room. But what is a mistake, really? Because everything in life is a lesson, of course. I learned so much from putting together this room. I invested so much time and definitely money. I definitely spent more money than I should have or needed to for this project. But hey, whatever, maybe you can learn something from this video. So the very first thing is that I decided to put in some fake grass, also known as turf. I don't know why, but for the longest time I had this vision that if I ever had a plant room or a grow room, that I would put turf inside there. I also thought this would be better for the cats versus the hard cement. To foster baby.
Which one's the boy, which one's the girl?
Do you like Mad Lib? This is the boy. He seems really sweet. By the way, if you're thinking about adopting a cat but you still haven't done so, may this video convince you to adopt your fur baby. They will change your life for the better, I'm telling you. So my husband, before this, he wasn't a cat person, or so he claimed that he wasn't, but I didn't believe him. I feel like, it's weird if someone doesn't like cats. So anyway, it was a random day when we decided to go to the Humane Society. Anyway, the story goes that we decided to go to the Humane Society on a random day. Really, it was my idea because I already had in mind the cat that I wanted. I wanted a male cat with a fur pattern like the little one here, exactly like this one, because he reminds me of the previous cat that I had, which I was obsessed with. And so that was the idea, right? But when we walked into the Humane Society, the guy there who was showing us the kittens, these were actually the first 2 kittens that they showed us. And so they lift up this little kitten, this boy one here, and I was like, wow, that's literally what I'm looking for. And then he lifts up the little black one. He goes, but these come together. And I was like, whoa, Okay, first of all, I've never had a female cat. It's not my preference. But also two cats, like, whoa. So we end up saying yes on fostering these two kittens, meaning that we take them home, we take care of them up until a certain age because they were like 6 weeks, I believe. But once they came home with us, I was in love. I was like, all right, well, first of all, they're obviously inseparable. I cannot just take one cat back and keep one. That's fucked up. Like they were besties from the start. So here they are when we brought them home. I didn't have anything for them, so as you can see me, I'm using these little bowls which could hurt their whiskers, but this was all temporary. And they had their little litter and like a box, and I had a couple different types of kitten food. Honestly, they would fall asleep pretty much anywhere. I mean, they're kittens, right? But they really did enjoy the box because what cat doesn't like boxes? Are they not the cutest? I am so obsessed with cats, especially kittens. I mean, they're so adorable. Look at you. Okay, so I'll tell you the very first thing that I regret buying, but I learned from this, was buying all this cheap stuff from Shein. At the time, I just thought that it was a deal, buying cheap things off of this website like cat bowls and a scratch post and cat beds, all sorts of cat things from Shein. I also regret buying fake plants for the cat room. That was a mistake. Might as well just get real plants for your cats, okay? You'll see the plastic food and water bowls that I'm talking about. And then you'll also see the ones that I upgraded them at the very end of the video, which is what I recommend investing in instead of buying like these cheap plastic self-feeding bowls, because also self-feeding cat food bowls are not it at all. Your cats should never have access to their food all day long, especially if they're house cats and they have access to the whole house. Like at night, cats seem to be very active. I mean, it varies, of course, but you don't want them munching on food all night long. The only time self-feeding bowls are useful is when you're out and about during the day and your cats need to be fed for a few hours or so. But I do not recommend leaving food out for your cats all day, every day. Cats should also be fed on a flat surface, like a flat bowl, or there are various different bowls out there that create enrichment for your cat so that it's more fun and a little bit more of a challenge for them to eat their food. Another major thing that I learned is that cats should be eating wet food. This is so crazy. If you didn't know this, please look into it, do your own research, educate yourself. But cats should not be consuming dry food, or at least the majority of their food should not be dry, because wet food offers that extra hydration for them. It's also important to know how much a cat should eat, and this depends on various factors. You may see me feeding my cats throughout this video, and let me just be honest, so don't come at me in the comments. I have definitely learned and adjusted how much I should be feeding my adult cats now. They are obviously adults now. I was not feeding them the proper amount in the past. I was definitely overfeeding them because they would always act hungry, so I was like, okay, maybe they want more, and I was listening to them, but you shouldn't be doing that. So the average adult cat, depending on their weight, needs a specific amount of calories per day. On average, you can say that an adult cat should consume 2 to 3 wet cat food cans a day. So I encourage all cat owners to look into it, do your own research, and learn how much you should be feeding your cat. All right, here I have the cat litter set up. This was the very first one I had when I first adopted them. Like I said, it's a cheap plasticky one along with the feeders, the water, and all of that, which I regret buying. Now, with water, what I have learned is that they enjoy flowing water. So there's now these fancy electrical cat water bowls that are motion censored and they keep the water flowing. I absolutely love those, and that is what my cats use now, and they have been for quite a while now. I don't know if I already mentioned this, but I was living in the middle of the desert in Southern California. So this sunroom would get so hot. The entire house, to be honest. I'm talking 3-digit weather kind of hot. And this was pretty normal, but during the summer, it was just brutal. And there wasn't really an AC in there. There was like this little fan in there, but it didn't really function well. I think that if this wasn't a sunroom, obviously it wouldn't have as many windows. And if there weren't as many windows, then I would be able to play around with this room a lot more. Because for a cat room, I would have liked to added like things on the wall, such as like little cat steps and such. But I was pretty limited because I'm working with windows, of course. We had an incident happen here in this sunroom. Let me tell you about it. So one night, my partner and I were sitting in the dining room, and we heard a loud sounds. And I look over. Someone had thrown a rock, a huge rock, through one of the windows here. We got so scared. We got up and checked the sunroom and the surroundings outside in the yard. And yeah, there was this huge rock inside of the room. The next morning, on the window next to it, like on the opposite side, it was also shattered. The window was shattered. It appeared to be a BB gun or something of that sort. Let me tell you, I was so scared after that because I don't know what I was thinking or what we were thinking, but all of the windows were always left wide open with no blinds. Except for these curtains that I'm putting up right now, those are on the side, but I would tie them up so the windows were pretty visible. We definitely learned our lesson after that, and they have some like bamboo pull down curtains on the outside of the room, and we definitely pulled those down, and then I put black curtains all over the room. So as you can see, these like satin white curtains, I thought they would be so cute. I was going for like an aesthetic look, as you saw that little glittery diamond thing that I was hanging from the wall. What's it called? The chandelier. You know, the grass making the floor look good, the satin curtains, the fake flowers. I was giving it a little vibe because it's not just a cat room, it's a hangout room. You know, I was going to be spending time with my cats in there. And here I have some wall decorations, some wall art, some wall stickers, these tropical plants that I was sticking onto the wall. I don't know, like I said, I went ahead and bought a lot of random shit from Shein. These were honestly so cute, and you all know, well, you may know if you follow me for a while now, that I am a tropical girly and I love anything tropical, so it was kind of a theme here, the green colors and all. They were incredibly easy to apply as well. I don't regret these, okay? I don't regret them. It was a really like a small little touch, but I feel like it's a nice touch. And as you will see, these will match their little tropical scratch posts. Let me tell you something, cats go through so many cat scratch posts, and it is a necessity. Your cat needs a scratch post. Not just any scratch post, a very high quality one. Okay, you see, look at the result. It's cute, right? And then here is the little scratch post, which I kind of do regret, but to be honest, it's kind of the perfect size for kittens. They grew up fast and they destroyed that little cat post. The fake plants, definitely regret. Like, what a waste. Because one thing is that the cats were biting them, chewing them, and I really didn't want them to do that because then I would just have this chewed up looking plastic sitting there, and it was giving the aesthetic, it was throwing it off, you know. It also felt like wasted money, like dang, you guys chewed them all up like a chew toy. You're not respecting this as decoration. I mean, they didn't know. I had a friend advise that I should have just got them a real plant, but to intentionally get it for the cats, so the cats have their own real plants. Oh my gosh, look at Quasi there. Do you see him? He's so tiny and adorable and precious. By the way, I don't even remember if in this video I mentioned what we decided to name the cat. So here we have Quasi, the male kitten. That name Quasi is short for Quasimodo. If you know, you know. And then the black cat is the girl, and her name is Abra, short for abracadabra. So we have Quasi and Abra, siblings. If you may have noticed at the beginning of the video when we were driving home from the Humane Society, we were playing Jazz Cats by Quasimodo and Madlib on the drive home, which was a really long drive from where we lived because the Humane Society was way out there and we lived in the middle of nowhere. We were throwing all these names out, all these name ideas, and when I heard Quasimodo, my partner shouted that name out because that's the beat tape we were playing. The cat seemed to love those beats as well. Every time we would play Quasimodo, he loved it. And down the road, we came to learn that Quasi loves music because later on, let me just spoil this. This room ended up being flipped into a vinyl room with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of vinyl. And Quasi, I swear, he'd always go in there when a vinyl was playing and he would pick a record and everything. So the name suit him so well. I think that he picked it. And then Abra, oh, hold on. Actually, I think I named Quasi. I definitely did. And then Abra, my partner, named her because he's like abracadabra, like she's black, but short is Abra. I think they're really cool names. I don't know. What do you think? Comment below. What is your cat's name? I would love to hear. Next up in my unboxing, I have an extra large cat post, which I regret so much. I don't know. I was such an unexperienced online shopper. I should not have been balling like this with all the money that I was making, but I did. I wish I would have taken more time to compare products, to look at more products, and just compare in general, which I'm so good at doing now. The reason I hated this huge cat post is, you will see in a second, but it actually had to be nailed to the roof, which was not possible in the cat room, in the sunroom. We ended up moving it to the living room since they also spend a lot of time there, but it wasn't tall enough for that room either, so it was just awkward. It had an awkward top missing. It was kind of dangerous, and to be honest, they never really used it. So months later, I ended up unscrewing all the top parts and I just left that little bottom chunk that you see right there, and that is what they used as a scratch post for a while until they just tear it up so bad I had to get them a new one. Why are cats this adorable? We don't deserve them, do we? I was recently reminded of how special cats are. Very recently, I saw a video of a woman explaining how cats are spiritual protectors, which I have always known. But I love to hear it. I love to hear the breakdown. And especially black cats. They are so special. Cats are protectors of the spiritual realm, and they are always protecting your home and you, as opposed to dogs, which protect your home physically. Drop a comment below if you want to hear more about this. I don't know how I'd speak on it, maybe in another video, but I love this topic. Okay, real quick, back to the topic about getting your cats a real plant. This ended up happening on accident later on, like a year later, once the kittens were cats. I mean, once they were adults, obviously they are cats. Because like I briefly mentioned that this room ended up being flipped into a record room. We had this huge, beautiful plant in there. I wish I knew the name of it. And the cats love to chew on the leaves of it to clean their teeth or get enrichment. I'm not really sure what they were up to there, but they also love to play with the soil. And at that point, we were like, fuck it, you know? They should just keep the plant. I don't remember how long this cat room took to put together, but it was quite a while, especially because everything was delivered and some things took weeks to arrive, especially the fake grass. And as you can see, the paper towels that are laid out on all the corners of the room, that is because the kittens were potty training or I mean litter training. Oh my gosh, they're not a baby. They were training on how to use a litter, okay? But they were not getting it. It was just not clicking. It was frustrating for a while because they just kept shitting anywhere and everywhere. But I had to learn how to be patient, of course, because they are babies and they were learning. But the trick is to put their litter on opposite sides or on complete different space from their food and water. You don't want them to be close, which makes sense, right? You don't want them to associate their food and water with where they shit and pee. What do y'all think so far? Comment below your honest opinions because I don't give a fuck. I don't have this room anymore and it didn't last that long. I mean, probably like a year or so. Actually, that is a while. When we converted this into a music room, a vinyl room, we ended up leaving the green turf in there. I kind of liked it. It was alright. So I currently have two kittens that I just adopted. So like I got all their mess out of the sunroom. I just bathed them so they're drying. But this is an update. Oh my god. It looks weird right now. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of work, but it's going somewhere. This looks like a different color, like. And so the kittens I'm currently litter box training them, and like they keep pooping in the corners. So I put some paper towels, but this is currently the vibe, and I'll keep y'all updated when it's done. You'll see when it's done if you watch the whole video.
Watch your
Okay, so the problem with this scratch post was actually that when they became adults, they got heavier and they would jump on there and it would wobble everywhere because it's not that it had to be screwed into the ceiling, it had to be screwed onto the floor, I believe. I don't know, either way, it just didn't work out. Kittens are extremely playful, and so are most adults, honestly, if you provide the correct enrichment for them. And with that being said, I want to remind you that every single cat may be different. Quasi here likes to play differently than how Abra enjoys playing, and that has to do with how they enjoy hunting out in the wild. My cat, the girl, she likes things that are up in the sky, as in birds, those dangly little things with the birds attached to them. She absolutely loves those. And Quasi, he likes things more on the ground. He goes crazy for mice, the little mouse toys, and he likes to play like a dog. He loves to play fetch. If you throw him, he'll bring it back to you. That's his type of playing. They love to play in opposite ways. So you need to learn how to understand your cat. Okay, did you just see that? The room is coming along. I just had to cut all the borders of the grass so that it fit perfectly, and it was a little bit of a struggle to make sure that it wasn't awkward and that it looked nicely done. Oh, hey, Abra. What are you doing? Cutie, little cutie patootie. I'm seriously so grateful that I have a female black cat. She is so powerful. The cats love to take naps in the most cutest ways ever when they were little. It's something so special about male cats as well because the way that they love their owner is out of this dimension. Every male cat that I have ever had, by the way, growing up, I always had cats. I lived in a dead end zone and my street was always filled with stray cats, which means that they were always having litters of cats. One time there was this really vicious stray cat, but she was pregnant, and one morning she decided to come to our doorstep for help because she needed help giving birth. I mean, she did it on her own successfully, but she wanted us to provide like a bed and such. That was such a cool experience and memory that I have from my childhood. I've always been obsessed with animals, but especially cats. And because we always had stray cats around, I could easily convince my mom to let me have a cat, and we always did. She never really said no. And I adore her for that because that was very special for me to grow up with animals. In my adult life, I actually ended up going to college and studying animal sciences to become a veterinarian, and then shortly after I switched my degree to zoology, which is what I attained my bachelor's degree in, along with other degrees, okay, organic chemistry and Spanish, but that's another story. And fast forward, at this current moment while I'm recording this video, I am back in school. I am enrolled in a program for veterinary sciences, and I'm refreshing my mind on becoming a vet assistant, which I have previously done. I've also been thinking about becoming a cat groomer or a dog groomer, something of that sort, but I know that that will take practice. With cats, especially because most of them don't really like taking baths. One thing about our kittens, look at Quasi here drinking his little water, is that I tried to get them accustomed to taking baths at a very young age. If you saw that clip earlier, their fur was all wet because I had just given them baths, especially after bringing them home from the Humane Society because it was dirty up in there. There were so many stray cats. These two siblings were strays, by the way, so I saved them. Oh, and at this point, I wasn't sure that I was going to keep both of them. Another thing that I'd like to point out real quick is that cats also enjoy different beds. Quasi is obsessed, I'm telling you. He still owns that little black bed he's sleeping in this video right here. And Abra's just chilling. She likes to sleep on high things, like way higher than this, like high up off the ground. Quasi also enjoys those little hanging hammock kind of beds. So definitely learn what your cat likes as well. I think that's very important. By the way, this is the first time that I ever have two cats at the same time. I mentioned that I've always had a lot of cats. Oh, this toy right here. This is the one that Abra loves because you could like fling it up in the air. She loves that. But as I was saying, that having two cats as one is such a different story and different experience, not just for the owners, but for the pets as well. To be honest, if you only have one cat, I encourage you to get two because I can now say that I believe cats are supposed to grow up and live in companionship, whether that be a partner or a sibling. They just do better. That is what I've learned from experiencing these two here. They're such characters too. I love how all cats have their own little personalities. Another thing I'd like to share real quick is that because these were foster kittens, obviously depends the area in which you live in. These were adopted from Southern California, and when you foster them, you are encouraged to foster them for a specific amount of time, but I think it varies as well from Humane Society. Once that time is up, you can then decide if you want to keep them or you're going to return them to the Humane Society. But as I was saying, because we fostered these, if we ended up adopting them by a specific time and such, then all of their vaccinations and all of that stuff would be free, even the cost of adoption. We had to get them vaccinated and all of that paperwork stuff done while they were still considered foster animals. And once that period was over and they reached a certain amount of weeks, we could then fill out applications and such and officially become their parents, their pet owners. So the entire process was free. We didn't have to pay to adopt them or to vaccinate them and such. Up until about a year or more because the vaccines and rabies shots and all of that needed updates. But by then we didn't live in California and it didn't cover that, of course. But either way, I thought that was really cool. So if you're interested in adopting a cat, just look into that because the place you adopt may allow you to get free vaccinations and all of that, as well as dry cat food when you first adopt them. If you're wondering why it took me so damn long, I'm talking like over 2 years to release this video, is because I've been dealing with storage issues for the past 2 years. And not only that, before that, I was going through pregnancy and then postpartum And then after that unexpected move with a baby, an infant. It's just so much going on in my life in the past 2 years. And that is why, but I'm grateful to still have these files and to be able to share them with you all now that I have a new phone and that I have storage and I live in a new space. And here are my cats sitting right next to me. They ended up making that move with us as well, of course. They did not really enjoy it. It was a tough ride for all of us. Basically, the car ride from Southern California up to the Pacific
I made her a
Northwest
toy.
was over 20 hours. It was about 25 hours, and we stopped once. I mean, we stopped multiple times throughout, of course, but once
He
we
doesn't want to
stopped
play
to
with her. He
sleep
kept
somewhere in a
hissing
hotel. That was the very
because
first
that
time
thing
the
has
cats had
catnip
ever
in it.
been out like that and in the car for that long. Okay, so as you can see here in the room, those boxes with little balls and such, I was doing my best to provide as much enrichment as I could for the cats because although they
Yo.
look larger here, if you can tell, obviously, they're still kittens. Look at how playful they are, so adorable. And even as adults, they are playful as well, as long as you provide enough enrichment and activities for them and you as the owner stay active with them as well. That right there is an old chair that came in this house that we lived in, and they would always nap in it, so we just left it. And as you can see, the room is coming along. I shifted and moved some things around the room many times just to see what they would like. The satin curtains in the back, which I thought were cool for aesthetic, they ended up completely destroying. They would claw it and use it as a scratch post. At that point, I didn't care. I said, you know what? These are yours. Keep them. Look, do you see that? Yeah. Yeah, no, they were definitely a little crazy, a little full of energy. And there he goes, eating again. Like I said, it's such a bad idea to have self feeding and always having food out. Don't do it, please. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I wish that I could have been
Fozzie.
working with walls instead of so many windows so that I could provide more enrichment up above. Have any of you guys ever watched the Cat Whisperer show? I believe it's a man who is a cat whisperer and he goes to homes to visit the owners and the pets that are struggling to live in the household with the owners. Oh yeah, by the way, look at this huge beanbag. Like I said, I was kind of throwing random shit into the rooms for enrichment. And then that big white thing in the corner is actually supposed to be a litter.
Hey, Quasi.
That's what it was labeled at the store, but I decided to put water in there so that they
Get
could
it, get
play
it.
with it and such, and they
Get
actually
it, get
enjoyed
it,
it. It
get
was
it.
kind of fun. I would throw random little objects in there and they would just try to catch them, or they were just intrigued by the water as well.
Yeah.
As I was saying, this cat whisperer, the cat owners will reach out to him and say, hey, my cat is struggling with issues. They're so vicious. They keep hissing at me, scratching me. They don't want to be around me. Please come help. And the cat
Got it,
whisperer
got it.
will evaluate their house, their entire house, not just the room where the cat inhabits, the entire house, and say, okay, this is what you need to change. Because cats are extremely delicate to their environments, of course. And he will observe the cat and say, okay, your cat is either a tree dweller or a bush dweller. This term was popularized by a cat behavioralist. And basically, what it means is that a tree dweller, they prefer high vantage points like shelves, cat trees, the tops of fridge or cabinets because they feel safe and comfortable, like they are in control from above. This is a classic behavior for confident or curious cats. Now, on the other hand, a bush dweller are cats that like or prefer to stay low, such as under furniture, boxes, behind curtains, or low perches. They often prefer cozy and hidden spots for safety and comfort. By the way, look at this bed that I have hanging from the window. That was such a good move. And here's Quasi obsessed with doing that little cat thing. I forgot what it's called. He's kneading the dough. That is also why he loved this bed. But anyways, that bed that was hanging from the window, they ended up growing up so fast and they both loved it so much they would jump on there and sleep together, but at one point they were getting so big they both didn't fit. And here's another version of it. This is the cheap one that I got from Shein. Highly regret. It's just the way that it's built was just horrible. I can't explain because of the wires there, and when they jump up, it was just bad. But if you got a glimpse at the other one, it was much, much better. What we ended up doing is moving them to our bedroom where we slept, and I got one for each of them. And when it was time for us to go to sleep, us adults, the cats would go to sleep too. It was so cool. They were so in sync with us and they absolutely loved it. Not only that, but because they could look out the window, because it's attached to the window, in the backyard where our bedroom was, there was trees and all of these sorts of nature that the birds would come visit early in the morning. So the cats, see, this is the one that I'm talking about. This one was way better. The cats would sit up there and pretend that they were hunting the birds from the window. I share this and I say all that to say that as you can see me throughout the video testing out all these little things and finding out what my cats really liked, and individually as well because they had different likings. I came to learn that Quasi is more of a bush dweller and Abra is a tree dweller. How about you? How are your cats? What are they? Do you have any idea? Comment below, I would love to know. Now, this little window thing was so sturdy, it was incredible. I'm just telling y'all, I highly recommend it because they could easily jump on it because the sturdiness and support is at the bottom of the bed. I remember when my midwife came to visit and she did a checkup in our bedroom and she saw both of the beds there, which you'll see here in a second. She was like, "Oh my gosh, like they're so spoiled." And I was like, of course, you know, we all have the same bedtime too. But I just think it's funny. I feel like if you're gonna have a pet, you have to spoil them, especially cats, which arguably can be seen as gods. Okay, the Egyptians used to worship cats. But for real, they definitely are here for a reason and they are spiritual protectors of your home. So that is all that I have to share with you all in this video. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of my community. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. It means a lot to me. It encourages me to continue making more videos, whether that be lifestyle vlogs, family vlogs, motherhood vlogs, or baking videos. You already know I share so much baking on my channel and I have so much more to share with you all. Lots to come for the remaining of the year and from here on out, okay? I love y'all. Thank you so much for being here. Sending y'all love. And I pray that my cats live forever and ever and ever. I pray that your cats live forever as well. I would love to hear from you all below. Comment below your cat's name and comment what they are, a tree dweller or a bush dweller. Okay, what are you living with? What are you working with? Oh, this is the beautiful plant that I was telling y'all about. I have it in the room temporarily here, but they were eating it up and everything. So here's Abra enjoying this little futon. Like I said, they kind of took over the house and they were exploring all different sorts of areas. I'm letting them just enjoy everything, you know, live life. Huh? One last thing that I'll share real quick is that one of my favorite things to do with them is to have bird feeders outside or throw bird seeds outside for the birds to eat, and the cats absolutely love to pretend like they are hunting them, and it is great enrichment for them, as you can see here. Please don't judge how much I'm feeding my cats here. I have learned, okay, they should not be eating one whole can of food in one sitting. Please split it up and learn how much your cat should be eating, okay? And get them some wet food and some moving water. I will mute this part because I'm not trying to get copyrighted, but here's the studio room, the vinyl room, the record room, the music room, and Quasimodo is enjoying some beats. I know he feels those frequencies because everything is energy, baby. Okay, Quasi.